going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check with no voice. This is the state of wrestling for the first time in 2025, and that is Jake fucking DeMarco. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? Everyone's going nuts about numbers everywhere, but, things are just a bit more detailed than I think people realize. This Raw number, some people might look at it as a bit of a disappointment, but it's not being discussed in terms of viewership. It's being discussed in terms of households.
The way I was reading some of it, and I could be very, very wrong. First of all, I should nail two things off the bat right away. I have no voice. Don't know how long this podcast is going to be. Second of all, if you're in California, if you're dealing with all the hellacious shit that's going on in California right now, our thoughts are with you. We hope you're okay. Hopefully we can distract you for a couple of minutes. If you want to make fun of my scratchy voice, you have very, very specific permission. But it is what it is. If you hear me hack up along occasionally, that's just how it's going to go. Jake's going to drag me along and carry me to a good finish. Giggity.
I can carry you through. It's my fault. I gave you the ick, but what are we going to do?
Oh my goodness. Going to be drinking a lot of water, so I hope you guys don't mind listening to some really bad ASMR.
There we go. But, yeah, it's 2.6 million households, live plus SD, in the U.S., according to Video Amp. So it's 116% higher than Raw's average 24 U.S. audience of 1.2 million households.
But the worldwide number is 4.9, and that's the one that I find interesting.
But I guess that's also millions of households.
Yes.
So it's considered live view plus one views. So really every view is like 1.4 to 1.9 depending on it. So some of these numbers could actually be doubled almost, essentially, if that's the case, because there's a lot of houses. Like there were 3 people watching Netflix in my home, and everybody was watching Raw. So
okay, but that would have been
the
same consideration of like when we were doing ratings the old way. Would have been like, oh, okay, well you've got one TV watching the Royal Rumble. I don't care if there's 20 people at your house. That's still one TV.
Yeah,
so that's not really that different. I'll be more interested as we go on, as what these numbers mean becomes clarified either by Netflix or by WWE. I just had a really good. We'll have to do.
I guess the difference is if there's 3 TVs in the home, then you would get, as far as like the Nielsen ratings go, then you would be, if you were a Nielsen home, you would get 3 different points of access. With this now, it's just one account that counts. So, like I'm saying, we had 3 views. It's one account no matter what, so it only counts as one view. So things like that. I get your point with people sitting in the room, but at least they would count multiple TVs. With this, it's interesting, but I like how instantly the other side immediately had to attack WWE. Oh, see, look at this. It's not 40 million. It's not even 60 million. It's not. And it's like, this is number one trend for 14 hours straight.
What's the worldwide coverage of Max exactly?
Yeah, so
I'm just saying. And
they trended in Brazil, Canada, Mexico, Spain, the U.S., all over, UK.
I think it's funny that even I think it might have been either Mexico or Brazil. I could be wrong. There was a misspelling of the hashtag, and it was like WE on N Netflix, and even that misspelled hashtag was trending.
And I know you don't like the gate numbers, like I don't care for them either, but it was the largest gate for an arena event of all time. They also set the merchandise sales record too.
It's not about being from, like, I actively dislike them using the gates, because what you're saying is, look how much we scalped these people for.
Exactly, look how much we charged. And the Intuit Dome tickets were like, for way in the back, were anywhere like less than $1,000 per ticket, I was hearing. So
now, that being said, I have to say, there's a certain event coming up here in Toronto in a couple of months.
So this is what it says right here. It said, views are the total view hours for the program divided by the runtime. It is our nearest proxy for an average minute audience, AMA, at the household level, and does not include co-viewing. Data cut off at midnight Pacific Standard Time each day. It does not include viewing in 92 countries and territories where Netflix doesn't yet distribute WWE, which includes France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea. So those
there wouldn't be any numbers because nobody's watching it there.
That's the thing. So that's what they're saying. But the people were still watching it there. They just were watching it through Netflix. So
I was gonna say, I wonder how they're watching it over there. I mean,
restreams usually.
Maybe. But no, it's funny, we talk about the gate, we talk about this and that, and how bad some of the tickets are. I'm the guy that just bought a SmackDown ticket for the night before Elimination Chamber. Did I mention I'm going to Elimination Chamber, Jake?
I don't know. You better save your voice on that one.
Fuck. Oh, man. No, when I lost my voice at Money in the Bank, it was not the same as this. This is bullshit. Spaz didn't even go to work yesterday. We were going to try and switch our recording day to Wednesday, and it's not happening this week. But with that being said, we did a full review of the Raw debut on Netflix over on Jake's channel. The audio of that live stream is available on his side, on my side. Please go check it out, because we're not going to land too hard on Monday Night Raw in this. We are going to talk about NXT New Year's Evil. We're going to do a couple quick bits and bites from last week's SmackDown. We got a couple other news and notes to talk about. But the most recent thing we watched, for myself, it was on Netflix. For you, it was on the CW, was NXT New Year's Evil. 2 new champions.
Absolutely. I mean, one somewhat expected, but two, total surprise there. I did not see Trick losing, and especially in such a way that they had done it. NXT went ahead and averaged over 957,000 viewers. Yep. And here's the thing, that's the updated number now, because the initial number was a little bit lower, but I guess that's not counting the Los Angeles broadcast, because LA was busy dealing with the coverage of the fires. Yeah. So people were saying that, they were counting the viewership on the CW of the fires, but they weren't. They were counting just the viewership of the rebroadcast. So
okay, fair.
That 957 does seem accurate.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as we sit here and we talk about wrestling, as we said already to anybody dealing with any of that stuff, there's much bigger things than wrestling. Please allow us to be your distraction, your little bit of something that's not, living in a real life hell, which is I can only assume absolutely terrible.
Some of their higher numbers on the USA Network were 722 and a .21, so for them to get a 957 is great. And they finished with a .25 in the 18 to 49 demo, so that's great. People were interested in the show throughout, though. The viewership numbers held throughout.
Steady?
It was pretty much steady all the way through.
No big spikes and dips?
Not that I've seen. And people were saying, that's the Rock effect. They're waiting. I don't think as many people were waiting to see the Rock as they really led on to. It didn't seem like it was a huge contingent.
I don't think it was an interest thing. I think the Rock, wrongfully so, got a really big undeserved backlash from what happened on Monday, because he was there being Dwayne and a little less being The Rock.
Yeah, he wasn't being the final boss, so.
But I will say, like, his ramble at the end of NXT, while it was a little bit funny, and I know it didn't look like he was used to having a cutoff time. But I mean, it was fine. He was basically out there saying, thanks for coming to NXT. I'm happy to be at NXT. You guys are great. He took a shot at the people that were taking shots at him, which I think is absolutely fair.
Yeah, and it was a good promo. He came out there, you could tell he legitimately didn't know what he was going to say. I don't mind that they incorporated his daughter. I thought that was a fun moment. Yeah. And I like how The Rock
he had the little interaction with Ethan Page there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He had the interaction there, but it showed more to him being the less of the final boss and more of the face Rock, because he's like, you destroyed Javon's face and Cedric's fingers, but if you need to, you can call me, that kind of thing. Yeah. So he was being Mr. PR.
It's like, what did you think? What did you like to the people that are like naysaying it? And I know I shouldn't give these people time, but like, what did you think he was gonna do? Like, watch Obafemi win the match and then hit him with a rock bottom? Like, there's nothing that The Rock is going to do character-wise in NXT. Or at the very least, I wouldn't imagine so. Like, I would be more likely to see, like, John Cena come down and have a match with somebody for a night. Like, if Braun Breaker was still in NXT, could John Cena have a match with Braun Breaker? Like, that kind of... I don't see The Rock doing that. I will say, however, to spin it to a more positive note and get away from the negative bullshit, the Shrine looked great. The Shrine looked... The way they had it laid out looked bigger than it was. Like when you saw,
because it was only less than 2,000 people.
Yep, it looks like a very long building. Yes. Like as opposed to like the arena, you have like the illusion of it being either square or circular. Like, it looked very long, but it made for a long entranceway. It gave them space to do a really decent rampway. The fact that they brought out both new champions at the end of the show to have basically like NXT, new era, new year.
Little celebration. I love that. That
basically,
needs to be done more often.
If you take the Rock thing out of it, like if you just cut off that last 10 minutes, that's a perfect end to the show. And that's them wrapping up a show in an hour and 45 minutes.
I mean, we've got both new women's champions on the other shows as well. So you've got, 4 title changes this week,
well, this is the thing. Like, people are saying, like, remember when we were waiting for Julia, Stephanie, and Delta to debut? It's like, oh, there's a new era coming, and they had the pictures of the 3 of them. People have recreated that image. I'm pretty sure I sent it to you. They've recreated that image with Tiffany, Rhea Ripley, and Julia. Not only 3 new champions. I mean, Rhea Ripley got her title back, but new champion as in, like, hashtag and new.
Yeah.
But, like, not only 3 new champions, but 3 very different champions.
Absolutely, on the female side.
Now we just have to save the tag titles.
But they're each strong in their own way. Yeah. One, a former NXT participant champion, however you want to lay it out, and someone that has gone to the main roster and has been building slowly and getting to the point to where it is Tiffy time and she becomes undeniable. And that was one of the things that I talked to, Seth and a few others before, and, like I always talk to Seth Negan, and he said the same thing too. It's like, you get so caught in the middle of it, like we heard about Aleister Black. And the only reason I think that, Malachi Black is going to leave is what they did on AEW in the beginning. But, we haven't seen a lot from his wife since Backlash, when they were in Puerto Rico, it feels like.
I think
Zelina Vega mattered.
She kind of shows up, and I don't know, like, because you never know. There's always the off chance that there's somebody that doesn't mind being used sparingly. So I really.
I mean, she did get beat up by the Pure Fusion cunts just for a quick little thing, but I think that was really it. And since then, so
but
maybe he wants to be
like
back with his wife.
The Nakamura thing, where Nakamura just chills until they find something for him.
Yeah.
And now, if you're nothing against Nakamura, if you're a really hardcore Nakamura fan and you're bummed that he's not on TV, maybe that's WWE, but maybe that's just him chilling. If Zelina Vega is, and I mean, it ain't a bad job either. If she's gonna come down to the ring with LWO or do whatever, or maybe she gets infused into some multi-person match when, like, it's a 2-on-3 and we need one more partner and all that.
Yeah.
Like, would you like to see her more? Yes. Would I like to see her in more, like, spotlight type things where she did, like, the David and Goliath match with Rhea Ripley? Of course I would. But you never know who's maybe okay with not being at that tippy top.
At that point in time, the women started to feel not stale, but a little recycled in a way. Yeah. So now that we have 3 really strategically different champions in every possible facet, it's just that strength shows, and it's showing how people would rather wait for a chance at and WWE to do something with them than to be forgotten about elsewhere or paid well but do nothing. And it shows a lot. But then you also see, like, hey, the pieces are finally falling into place. Once everybody gets a chance to learn their character, figure out who they really are. Like Buddy Matthews, I wish he didn't re-sign with AEW. He went and had a chance to go to the Indies, because his in-ring work is stellar. But if he had the chance to really go ahead and hone in on what his character is and what he truly should be, he could have been another Cody Rhodes or Drew McIntyre story where, like, I left, I got better, I came back.
I will say credit where it's due. Other than the fact that they clearly stuck in a Seth and Punk dig in the middle of the match between him and Will Ospreay on Dynamite was fantastic.
So damn good.
And the fact that Will Ospreay got sort of in line with Kenny Omega at the end there, if we get those 3 in a triple threat match, I will tip my hat to AEW. If we get Omega versus Ospreay versus Matthews, come on now.
I hope they do something with him, but that's kind of my point here. We're seeing people.
3 guys that are almost as good as Seth Rollins.
And Seth,
there
how much pain he was in. Him and his Chris Benoit interview was really good. I checked that out earlier.
You see Seth's face?
Yeah, he talked about hurting at Mania, and
No, I mean, like, after this week's Raw.
Oh, I know.
He's got a big old fucking mouse under his eye there.
Yes, he does. That is a big bruise. So he's certainly a hurting pup. that we saw it come out with blood at the end. It started to bleed.
Yep.
So he definitely got hit with that knee to the face. And he said a lot of the stuff with Punk was very real. And it makes a lot of sense. You know, they were best friends. Not best friends, but very mentor kind of relationship. And then when Punk left, he was like, come on, everybody come with me. This place sucks. And everybody was like, no, I fought to get here. I don't want to leave. And Punk was like, well, then fuck you too kind of attitude.
And here's the thing. Here's a point that I want to make, and I know it's one that other people have made already, so I'm going to be brief with it. I know we get accused of being tribal. Everybody knows where I stand. I think everybody knows where you stand. You're a little bit more reasonable than I am. But, I mean, there's a very real issue with Punk and Rollins. Fine. There was a really big, real issue between Punk and the Elite. Right?
Right.
But at least Punk and Rollins can set it to a point of, okay, we've got an issue. We don't like each other. We don't like each other. We might as well make money on it.
That's why Punk kept trying to do that with the Elite. He kept trying to talk to Omega and others.
I don't want to dwell on it, but that really is the difference.
But here's my point, too, with all of this. They found the perfect spot for them. And we're seeing it more and more, especially with NXT and the call-ups. And to get it back to your initial point with the new champions, we're finally getting a time where it's like, hey, you put your dues in, and we see where you fit now, and you're going to go here, and don't worry, as soon as I find something for you, I'm not just telling you this, like, it's going to work. Like Shotzi. Shotzi is a perfect example of she wasn't really clicking quite perfectly on the main roster. She wasn't a miss by any means. But she didn't really have any feud or anything. Then she got injured, sadly, and she was back out for a while. Now they bring her back. They make her a mainstay in NXT and a force to be reckoned with. She's taking on Stephanie McClure next week in a #1 contenders match, which is going to be fantastic. Yeah. But it's like, hey, we have a place for you now. Tiffany Stratton kind of felt like she was floating for a little bit, just being the lowly sidekick with the Money in the Bank. And you're like, I know that the change is ever present. I can see we're on the precipice of it. Like, she just needs to cash in. But how will the cash in go? And is it going to actually make sense? Will it be worthwhile? And it was friggin' stellar.
But let's talk about the cash in, right? Because it wasn't just I just turned at the last minute. She was trying to be she was a lackey to Nia Jax, but then what ultimately tipped her over the edge was somebody else came from underneath her, and Candice LeRae shouldn't be under her. Candice LeRae's veteran at this point, right? But she was playing the role of being the lackey under the lackey and trying to be usurped. So it wasn't even like she finally got sick of Nia Jax's bullshit. She got sick of being nudged out of being Nia Jax's kiss ass.
And she even came out and said it directly. I want to be champion. I want to be the champion. And I love the way they did the fake out at first. You're like, is she gonna cash in? No, look at that. She's helping Nia win. She used the briefcase. Oh, look at that. She's a distraction. Nia beats Naomi and retains. Gets in the ring, starts to celebrate, but she really did smoke
4 people, and now this stirred up a bunch of political talk online.
Well, the way they handled it was so good, because she attacks Nia, and then she takes out Candice, and then obviously Bianca comes in to do the KOD off the corner, and she does the prettiest moonsault, after she cashes in, gets the title, and it was a great swerve moment that fit her character and made total sense. It didn't come out of nowhere. It's been being built. She hit the breaking point. She looked for her best possible opportunity where she could maximize the return, and that's exactly what she did.
She did one more grab to get back Nia Jax's trust before she betrayed her. I thought that was the sweet bit of it.
Exactly.
She took advantage of how pissed off Bianca would be because Nia Jax had just pinned her friend and let her do the hard work with the KOD. I still don't like the bigger wrestlers being used as just a living weight for Bianca Belair. We've had that discussion. But basically, she took out 4 people. And 3 of them are former champions.
Yeah.
She took out Nia, but she took out Candice LeRae, Nia, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. With the briefcase and with the way she played everybody. And I thought, to counteract the whole, you get to surprise somebody, so that's not a really dominant win. Well, you took out 4 people to get that win.
Yeah, exactly.
And you did it really smart. And then you bailed. And it's because I don't think she'll work as a face, right? But it's how you allow the crowd to be happy for a heel that we like without turning them face.
Exactly.
You just have them turn on another heel. Because what's happening, the rumors that I've heard, and I mean, I'd be okay with it, but other people are going to cry about it, is that heading towards Mania, it's going to be Tiffany and Charlotte.
Yeah, it
which
seems
would be a
like
fantastic match. Because even though she proves it every fucking week, like, Tiffany Stratton, sorry, my thoughts totally fell out of my head there for a second. Tiffany Stratton plays the Barbie doll, plays the daddy's girl, plays the whatever diva gimmick, I guess, as you would want to say it, right? We've moved so far away from the divas era that diva can be a gimmick. And then she wrestles completely against the gimmick. Like, she comes out and plays the ditzy Barbie whatever, and then immediately reminds you, yeah, this ditzy Barbie can actually kick your fucking ass.
Exactly.
And I think because she's so good at the gimmick, I've said it with a couple other people before as well. You and I have had these conversations before. Because she's so good at the gimmick, people are going to forget that she's awesome. So she's behind the 8 ball in every match. And you get Charlotte in there, she's behind the 8 ball because how dare you be white, blonde, successful, and have a dad we don't like.
Exactly.
So those two knocking it out of the park at WrestleMania will be a low-key victory for WrestleMania 41, if that's the way it goes.
I'm curious who Rhea faces as well, because her title win this week, can't be overstated, was greatly done. Hers was more of a story, you know, and more about telling it as it progressed. But it was, you know, a bittersweet revenge. She was able to knock the shit out of Dominic, you know, afterwards, which was great, and everything that happened before. It was a good match. Wasn't a great match, but it was very good. Made Rhea look dominant as she overcame the odds of the 3-on-1 attacks. And then on top of it, it just, you know, it kind of seals the deal of them two being forever ongoing. Now we get to go ahead and at least see where Rhea goes from here, thankfully. So
I have an idea for you.
Do tell.
I've been pitching since she showed up in the Rumble last year that I want to see Rhea and Jordynne Grace. Because I don't think Jordan's going back to NXT. Like, I think that was a fun time, but it's done now.
Yeah.
I think have whatever.
Not overstate its welcome, but, you know, she's about to at that point. She's bigger than NXT at this point.
Absolutely. And, I mean, if she wanted to go down there and do something, I wouldn't mind it either. Because, you know, there's this, there's that. She's got the history with a couple of the women there, specifically Roxanne Perez, who could very well come up in the Rumble. But I think what everybody's predicting right now is you have Jordynne Grace make her proper WWE debut in the Rumble. You let people know it's not just a cameo this time, like she's actually here. Let her go on a run. Let her come up short in the Rumble. Have her kill 5 bitches at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, just destroy.
And then, because have whoever wins the Rumble, maybe it's Charlotte that wins the Rumble. That'll please everybody, I'm sure. Charlotte goes after Tiffany Stratton. Jordynne Grace wins the Elimination Chamber. Did I mention I'll be there? And you get Jordynne Grace, because the Elimination Chamber feels like a match that Jordynne Grace should win.
Really
you know
does.
What I mean? You know what I mean? Like anybody, I don't want to say this, but like anybody can win a Rumble. It's almost like a game of chance. It's a little bit more hardcore.
Well, Cena said it. It's a lottery. You know, it really is. It's a lottery. And whoever gets, you know, the closer to the end number, doesn't mean number one can't win, but just like the first ticket bought in the lottery can win as well. But it's a lot of chance, and
you hear a lot of people saying that Cena should come out at number 17 in the Rumble, which would be cool. Cena's gonna win a title sometime this year. I'm already over it. It's fine. But no, I think Jordynne Grace, if they decide to fast track her to WrestleMania, which I wouldn't mind, do it through the Elimination Chamber. I think it suits her better.
You really do. Yeah, anyways, it kind of seems to suit her a little bit better.
We sort of skipped to the Tiffany Stratton cash-in, but that brings us backwards to last Friday and the first 3-hour SmackDown.
Yeah, which was good overall. They paced it well. They had enough content, and I think as they add more people to the rosters, it's going to be a bit more depth and breadth, and they'll be able to, you know, give people more as far as the timeline, you know, is what we're going to see each week.
Now, you guys watched this on USA.
That was correct? On USA, yeah.
Yeah, this is the one that fell through the cracks for us because it didn't quite make it to Netflix. So we had to watch this on a YouTube stream. Like, they actually put it up on the WWE YouTube thing. So there was all kinds of, like, weird, like, I want to say, like, YouTube ads, but, like, like an ad would start like halfway through, or it wouldn't quite finish, or it would cut back into the match. So they didn't fill the commercial breaks well, which was weird.
But I don't think they were planning on it yet.
It's true,
because, like you said, it was in that weird in-between state.
Well, they didn't even post it. Like, the only reason I knew where to get that video, because if you had just gone to the WWE YouTube thing, it didn't even have it listed as an upcoming stream. We had to go, Jimmy Corderas, who I follow on X, reposted a post from the WWE UK Twitter feed. And that's how I got the link. And I'm like, all right, fine, cool. Like, it was an unlisted video because I guess they wanted people in the States to watch it on USA.
Yeah.
Funny
they don't want to push people
funny
into
side
watching
story,
it here.
AEW Collision is on the Canadian USA network.
Which is hilarious to see.
Which is absolutely funny. Not that there's anything there worth watching. You know, the Rock and Roll Express are tied up in the back because John Moxley's weird. Anyways, SmackDown, 3 hours. Best compliment I can give it is it didn't feel any different.
No, it really didn't.
It felt like SmackDown, and SmackDown has felt like SmackDown forever. The blue canvas.
I didn't mind it.
I like the blue canvas. I can't say it was that intrusive because at first I didn't even really notice it. Like 20 minutes into the show, I'm like, okay, guys, am I crazy or is the
See, I did notice it right away. But it didn't bother me. I liked the way that Cody opened up the crowd hot, and him and Drew had a really good back and forth that I really enjoyed. And then you got the Kevin Owens
Drew
attack
McIntyre
from
comes
behind.
out to interrupt your promo and gives you a hug is probably the most terrifying thing.
Yeah, that's like a death sentence. That's a kiss of death, essentially. So that was cool to see. We had Nakamura and Andrade in that non-title match, which was really good. I'm trying to remember what else we got.
Michin and Piper. You had the great promo before Tribal Combat between Paul Heyman and Solo. I think I talked about that at length on your stream. I don't need to get into it again. Paul Heyman is the best at what he does.
Yeah, he really built up Tribal Combat, and Heyman putting over the danger of Solo is always like the best part of the bloodline.
I want you to know that I'm pissing my pants right now. But I don't know, like it was just good. Like the slight change with the ring canvas, it being 3 hours just meant everybody got time. Before the cash-in, everybody knows Naomi's not my favorite person, but the match between her and Nia Jax was really good. I thought it delivered far past what I would have expected. So take that for what it's worth, and then, you know, the stuff that came in afterwards. I don't know, like not much to write home about, but like the typical like high standard that I expect from SmackDown.
The tag match was good though.
Oh yes, that's right. DIY and Motor City Machine Guns, and then
Pretty Deadly.
DIY and Pretty Deadly sort of teaming up together. Los Garzas kind of being good guys because Pretty Deadly fucked them over a couple weeks ago.
Which was funny to see, interesting enough.
WWE is in the tag team business once again.
I know, funny enough, right? And it's like, hey, they can do these things, and look at that, it works. It's not ridiculous.
And tomorrow night I get to watch Smackflix. I really need, I know I said this to you offline, I really need the NXT logo, but the N to be like the stretched out like N from Netflix.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Anybody that does visual stuff, send it to me at Spaz Phoenix on X. But I'm going to kind of go backwards now, talking about tag team matches. Brings me to probably one of the most fun matches on New Year's Evil, which is Shotzi Blackheart and company taking on Fatal Influence.
Yeah, this was great.
I really like them as a trio.
They really can't be stated, again, saying that, but it's like my way to go through. Like, they made themselves feel like a big deal, and hey, we're from the main roster partially, and we're going to show you why we move up, and when we come back down, it's a big thing.
I think I'm coming around to the idea that Shotzi might be better in a group than as a single. Because my favorite iteration of Shotzi was when her and Ember Moon were tag champs.
No doubt about it. I mean, that was one of the better things, no doubt about.
Because you know, Athena's being used so well now. I mean,
that's so heartbreaking. I mean, she's won forever. She's been on this tear, but still, it's like
she's in Japan getting hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Who's seeing her wrestle? You know, no, who's getting to see her compete?
Well, I don't know if you know this or not. 5 people came together in the Tokyo Dome to put on, or sorry, 5 companies, I should say, came together to put on a pay-per-view in the hallowed halls of the Tokyo Dome that managed to get outsold by WWE putting on an episode of Raw. Because
sadly, what did they cap out at? I think it was like 12,000 fans, something around that number.
Because I'm the asshole with the spreadsheet, I will tell you.
You will have it direct and exact. Thank you very much. But I know it wasn't
Wrestle Dynasty 16,300.
Okay, but still not what it used to be, and not what they used to do. Certainly.
Raw on Netflix 1703.
Yeah, they used to outsell that place to the point where, like, standing room only for those Tokyo Dome shows.
Here's the thing, and I'll admit my own ignorance. I don't watch a lot of New Japan. I come to guys like you and Guapo for information on stuff like that. I don't think I've ever watched a show or a pay-per-view or a match from the Tokyo Dome. I kind of want WWE to run the Tokyo Dome. I want WWE to run the Tokyo Dome. I want WWE to run Wembley.
It would be something, you know. Wembley, I definitely see them doing very soon. I see that happening
pretty soon.
In the next 18 months, 2-year time.
Anyways, sorry, I know we're kind of jumping all over the map here, but I got to go back to NXT for a second, and let's just talk about the fact that, yes, the New Year's Evil show, if we take off the Rock bit, it was an hour and 45-minute pay-per-view.
It really was.
And the first hour, I think we're going to get onto the same thing at the same time. The first hour of that hour and 45-minute pay-per-view was all women's division.
Yes.
You had the singles match, you had the Fatal 4-Way, you had the 3-on-3.
The 6-woman tag. Yeah.
Let's just say Stephanie Vacour winning the Fatal 4-Way #1 contenders match shouldn't go under the radar either. That was a lot of fun.
No, that was a really damn good match. I like the outcome. I like the ending. Stephanie's a great choice, but yet again, like, it can't be overstated, we're not there yet, and there's a lot of story left to tell. So that's what I'm really excited with.
I like the fact that because everybody's excited about her being there, you can see her being put in some, I guess, controversy. Because as soon as she wins that #1 contenders match, it's immediately challenged by Shotzi actually pinning the champion.
Yes.
And I have no illusions. Stephanie Vacour is going to beat her next week, or there's going to be some shenanigans. But
no, there's got to be something happening.
Stephanie Vacour is not losing that #1 contendership. The worst we're going to get out of that is a triple threat match. Stephanie Vacour, Shotzi, and Fallon Henley is not going to hurt my feelings. And we have Vengeance Day coming up in a couple of weeks.
Exactly. And then stand and deliver.
Oi, oi, oi. There we go. Mm-hmm. But no, let's not go over one of the headlines. Obviously, Julia becoming the new champion in the opening
Great match. I'm stoked that they pulled the trigger, because if she lost again here, even like the first time, Cora Jade coming back, that was a big deal. That made perfect sense. They're back together. They're going to be a threat.
I think that's why they had Cora Jade storyline in the Fatal 4-Way, so that we would think, okay, she's got something else to do.
Yeah,
we're going to get a
one-up. Be focused on this.
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, the audience would almost expect her to get involved.
Yes.
And they gave us leeway to say, no, she's over here dealing with this. We're going to get the one-on-one match, get it in. Obviously, the story is Julia. What can't get lost in the shuffle is Roxanne Perez is phenomenal. Way overdue for a call-up to the main roster. But
absolutely.
Even with the stacked roster they have, when Roxanne Perez leaves, there's going to be a noticeable hole in that.
Oh, absolutely. She is been one to reform and recarry the division through the 2.0 side of things. Mm-hmm. Like, once Mandy Rose was out and they were going to be like, oh yeah, it's not all just about looks, and Mandy Rose was not a bad wrestler, but she was not the best, you know, we knew that. But she was confident.
By the time she got back better for her NXT run, again, it was another Tiffany Stratton thing. Like,
yes. She was very good, but we were looking for great then. We were beyond the blondes that were very good. You know, we really wanted like a...
Before the Bellas showed us who they really were, I used to have an expression about the Bellas, and I say, no, they're not 10s as far as wrestling ability, right? Like, say they're like a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
The problem was, at the time, people were so geared up to call WWE sexist and whatever, they would see somebody that wasn't a 10 and automatically assume they're a 2.
Yes.
And I coined that on the Bellas. I think it was true at the time. I think they're kind of cunts now, but it is what it is. But the same thing has happened to Tiffany Stratton, who is getting closer to that 10 mark.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened with Mandy Rose. I don't think Mandy Rose would tell you that she's a 10 out of 10 wrestler.
No, but she improved drastically, and she made some great work progression. Like, you saw her progress naturally, and like, hey, look, she's getting better. She's improving. This is good.
And that was the thing where she came to NXT and immediately turned heel and took the hat off or the hoodie off or whatever she had, and immediately like she ditched the blonde. And it's like, fuck you guys, fuck your Barbie bullshit, and all that kind of thing. And it's really good. And but yeah, no, Roxanne Perez. It's kind of funny because we've been kind of sweeping it under the. I think a lot of people in a lot of conversations have not fully paid attention to her because we've said so many times,
exactly.
she doesn't need to be in NXT. She should be on the main roster. She's so good. Why don't they put her to the main roster? And it's like,
and she's kind of getting looked over. Yeah.
But I think it's like when
I think on NXT people sometimes do skip it because they hear all this buzz and they're like, oh, I'll wait till I see him on the main roster. Yeah. And then they would come up and they would do nothing for most times, and you'd be like, oh, this is who you guys like? This is who you bragged about?
But not only that, though. It's like, oh, why would you make X person, Y person go to NXT? Like Stephanie Vacour, Julia, I would say even somebody like a Shawn Spears at this point. When there was the rumors about the Lucha Brothers said specifically they didn't want to go to NXT, which was fine. And everybody's like, oh my God, why would you stick them in NXT? That's like the learning place. And it's maybe they can teach some people something.
Exactly.
Like there's two sides to that coin.
Exactly.
Like, I'm learning about Stephanie Vacour and Julia now as they've come to NXT. I didn't follow them before. I'm not going to pretend, but I can see enough that I know they're showing some other people something. Like, you take somebody that we like Lash Legend, for example, who's come on leaps and bounds in the past year or so.
Who's going for the tag title #1 contendership next week as well.
That's true. But, like, you're going to tell me putting her in the ring with Julia for a night isn't going to teach her something?
Exactly.
And I mean that respectfully. Like, I mean that in the whole, like, I'm not saying that you're bad just because I'm saying somebody else could teach you something. We could all learn something from somebody.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying,
Julia...
like, not everybody that goes into a classroom is going there to learn. Some people are going there to teach.
Julia's done a lot. She's done a real lot. And she's accomplished a lot in her career, and she's been to the very top of what Japan had to offer.
I think you compared her to, like, the female Japanese John Cena.
Yes.
At one point.
Yes, like whatever she was the main event. She wasn't like she lost at times too. You know, she wasn't in the scene in that regard, but she was at the very top early on, and had to learn in front of everybody, and then progressively, like even when she wasn't the champion or going for the title, it's like, oh, she was in a tag match, that's the main event. Oh, she's going for the tag titles, that's the main event. Like all that kind of stuff.
It's like whatever I do, I'm the main event. So if I'm a tag team champion, the tag titles are now main event titles.
Exactly. Whatever I do, it's kind of that Cody Rhodes undeniable type thing. So to see her and Stephanie's language has improved greatly. So not only has her English gotten better,
I'm
but
glad
her
pronunciation
too.
I'm glad you used Cody as the example. I mean, it was only him and Jay for like a hot second, but you're going to tell me Cody Rhodes holding the tag titles doesn't do anything for the tag titles?
Yeah, that made them huge.
Come on now. But the other thing I wanted to say from New Year's Evil, and it wasn't one of the matches on the show, we saw a couple of weeks ago the attack from Ethan Page on Javon Evans.
Which was, I can't overstate that enough. They did such a good job there. And him being on this episode with his jaw wired shut.
Doing the whole promo with his jaw wired shut.
Not talking with his lips moving.
Kind of talking.
I can understand. I'm saying without his lips moving. He was doing a little bit of the ventriloquist act, but I hurt you.
A lot of people thought that was really goofy. I thought that was really effective.
That was great. I didn't think it was so goofy
effective.
At all.
It's so effective because, and people, when there's a drastic turn on a dime, people automatically assume it's done in sarcasm, and I don't think that's always the case. It's all the more effective him being pissed off because we know him to be such a happy-go-lucky, sometimes happy to be there, sort of like Hugger Bailey-esque character. Like, yeah. I got a match tonight with so-and-so. Oh, sweet. I'm going to be bouncy. Whatever the case may be. Because he's got so much that high energy, positive energy, the crowd loves his energy, he gets energy from the crowd. Somebody like that being pissed off is always more effective than a wrestler who's going to cut every promo and tell you how much I'm going to kick your ass, brother. Like, I thought it was insanely... It was a pre-tape, and it was just kind of wedged in there in the middle of the show. Just to preempt Ethan Page interacting with The Rock, I think. But I think it was ridiculously effective. And for somebody who's been in NXT for 6 months ish.
Yeah.
I thought it was insanely well done, and I think it's if we get a serious side of him, not necessarily a heel turn because you don't turn heel on a heel all the time. Not everybody's Tiffany Stratton, but I think we're going to see a different side of Javon Evans, and it's going to be very much the same as the heel turn with the New Day in the sense of we thought this was never going to happen. We thought you were just this happy, cuddly guy. No,
exactly.
now you want to go and kill somebody. Now you want to go and kill somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but yeah, no. Vengeance Day was announced for middle of February, so that'll be the next NXT PLE. Things that feel a little bit more spaced out this year, I think. With Rumble being in the beginning of February, with Chamber, which I'm going to, by the way, haven't mentioned that, being in the beginning of March, with what's it called? Saturday night's main event being wedged in just before the Rumble, with not having another NXT PLE until the middle of... It feels like everything's done a bit of a shift, but also stretched out a little bit, which is gonna... I think it's going to mean everything on every show, on every brand gets a chance to breathe a little bit. I still don't like the NXT PLEs being called WWE shows, but I guess I'm going to have to get over that. So 3-hour SmackDown, really weird for me. I had to watch it on YouTube. I'll get it on Netflix this week. Blue canvas, Tiffany Stratton cashes in.
Yeah, the canvas, honest to God, didn't bother me at all. So had they made it red for Raw, I think that would have made a huge difference.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. We talked a lot about the ring canvas on Raw.
And I like the way they psyched people out, too, by having the curtain around the ring so people weren't sure if they were going to have the canvas up or not,
But I said to you on the live stream, I said, even if there's ads on it, it's still a black ring canvas. I like that back in NXT, blah, blah, blah. I had an interesting thought because I was talking to a couple people at work today while I had more voice than I have now. And they're like, oh, there's so many ads on there and whatever in the case may be. And I think I've come to a bit of a conclusion as to why I like it.
Okay.
Wrestling kind of exists in a bubble, right? We talk about wrestling because we're in the bubble. You and I are in the bubble. Anybody listening to us is in the bubble. We turn on the show for 2 hours. For that 2 hours, we're in the bubble, right?
Exactly.
Having all those ads from Fortnite and Netflix and obviously the Saudi Sports Authority and all those other kinds of things makes it feel like our thing exists in the real world.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
No, that absolutely does. And people were like, oh, well, they keep breaking I said, kayfabe's dead, guys.
Yeah.
Kayfabe is dead and gone.
They said face and heel in the opening
Lopez,
promo.
Known now as Seth Rollins, went to Punk's school, and they told the story there with everything there. He didn't have the money to train and blah, 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 blah. They're finally at the point where they're like, these guys are actors. They're playing a role, and you're just along for the ride. It's like a Broadway play. She's really not the Wicked Witch, but guess what? You're going to manage to go ahead.
Oh, my God. Have you heard the chick from Wicked wants to play Storm in the MCU?
Yes. Let them go cry somewhere else together.
That's all I've got. Everybody fuck off. I think I've managed to stick in a movie reference in every pod we've done in the past little while.
I think so.
We talked about Trap. We talked about... what else did we talk about?
There's been a few.
Yeah. I don't know. Other movie. Have you seen the ad for Death of a Unicorn?
No, I haven't yet.
Go look up the trailer for Death of a Unicorn. It's fucking fantastic.
I heard it looks really good. So
it's a Spaz movie.
Okay.
Let's just say that. And I mean, Jenna Ortega doesn't hurt my feelings. Now, unfortunately, we got to switch gears a little bit. NXT is awesome. New Year's Evil was awesome. SmackDown's awesome. Netflix is awesome. Raw is awesome. Rumble's awesome. I'm going to Elimination Chamber. I don't know if I've mentioned that or not. 2-night WrestleMania is coming up. Vengeance Day is coming up. But a year from now...
I know. Okay, dun.
Here's the thing, and I'm gonna encapsulate my thoughts really, really quickly. 2026. Yes, the Royal Rumble is happening in Saudi Arabia. ... Get over it.
Exactly. This doesn't ruin it for anybody.
Nope.
Had this been the first pay-per-view over in Saudi, when they originally had people being upset about going, and it was that was a... Now, I mean, we'll see what injury Punk has and why he can't go to Saudi Arabia that time. I know he's against it staunchly, but most people don't really have that direct hate. I mean, yes, you have an issue with the government, but you're performing in front of families and kids when you get there. It's not like you're in front of a bunch of Saudi princes who are going to behead you at any moment's notice. Yes, they're in the audience too, but really it's all about the kids and the families and everyone else having fun and enjoying themselves and being able to bring wrestling around the world. Now they have that. Essentially, it's a Hall of Fame worthy setup in their WWE world.
I want to know if the winner of the Saudi Rumble gets a shot at the Saudi Championship.
I wonder. I've also heard that they might give them a major pay-per-view to also cut back on having to do a crown jewel and multiple events in Saudi per year.
Oh, like one actual pay-per-view versus two of the Saudi pay-per-views?
Yes. So now we will only have crown jewel at the October time to have champion versus champion, but we won't have the April or June one that we usually have. Is what I've read. I don't know how true that is, but
here's the thing. I'm hoping that they gave them Rumble so that they don't have to give them Mania. Because I don't think for a long time there, I don't think Mania was ever completely off the table. That would have been the one. Like, you could do Survivor Series over there. I mean, doing a pay-per-view called War Games over there might be considered, not very considerate.
Yeah.
But, I mean, could they have done SummerSlam over there? Maybe. Rumble is a little bit closer to everybody else's heart. I get it from a certain point of view. If they do Mania over there, it's going to be a breaking point for some people.
I think so, because people travel all over the world to go to the Rumble, to go to Mania, to go to.
I don't even mean in terms of people going. I just.
No, I know, but I'm saying people are going to be upset because they don't want to travel to Saudi Arabia because of their feelings, the way the country is, whatever it might be. I mean, there's a lot of issues there, so yeah, I can see it being a problem.
Yeah, here's the thing that I have to get off my bucket list, because I've done a Mania.
Yes, you have.
I've done a SummerSlam. I've done a Survivor Series. I've now done a Money in the Bank. I'm going to need Triple H to give me a Rumble at some point. And I don't care if that makes me sound
like the Rumble.
And I don't care if that makes me sound like an entitled cunt. I really don't. I need a Rumble. I'm going to SmackDown and I'm going to the Chamber. I'm going to scratch that off my bucket list too. But I'm going to need a Rumble. That's just how it's going to have to be. Rumble in Saudi is going to be interesting. What I do think,
no doubt.
And to everybody listening, sorry I'm coughing in your ear. I'm trying my best here. But the one thing I will say, and it's why we got Evolution. Don't kid yourself, because there was no female involvement in the Saudi shows. And now, I don't say this to be an asshole. I just say it because it's true. There are more female participants on a Saudi pay-per-view than there are on the average AEW pay-per-view, and they don't have any excuses.
Yeah.
So now you flip it to this. There's going to be at least 30.
There has to be, something on that end, at least.
There's going to be at least 30.
Yeah.
And then people are, oh my God, can you believe all the women that are going to have to wear those outfits, and it's going to be really warm? And I'm like, okay.
I don't think they care about that one bit. I think they only care about, hey.
I think it's funny
look at, you know what I mean? Like,
it's funny how much like people have actually, and they've been clever about it. I think it was Bayley, like when they were still like they had to go out in t-shirts pretty much. Yeah. And she ended up using her t-shirt to choke out, I think it was Lacey Evans. So like put somebody in a new situation and they'll do something new with it.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying it's the most ideal situation. I'm not totally blind to the topics at hand, but it does challenge the people that are. I have to go back to Cody Rhodes. Oh my God, they gave Cody Rhodes such shitty gimmicks. Well, okay, he made Dashing Cody Rhodes work. He made Demented Cody Rhodes work. He made Stardust work, even though he claimed he didn't like it. Part of what proves what a wrestler can do is what they're doing in situations where they didn't get what they wanted.
Exactly.
Apparently he hated Stardust, but you know what? Stardust and the Ascension, the Wasteland or whatever, I don't think anybody really liked what they were doing, but it was fun. Mustafa Ali, for all the times that WWE wasted him, he took the Retribution and tried to make it into something.
Exactly. He was like, hey, what do I have here? What can I do? What can I
play
have?
With? And if you hear him on interviews talking about what he wanted that gimmick to be, it would have been really poignant, I would think, because there was a lot of stuff about identity and mistreatment and how well do you really know people, and it's really interesting some of the stuff that he wanted to do to actually make that gimmick make sense. But like, you don't get to flex a creative muscle like that if you always get to do what you wanted to do, what your idea was when you wake up this morning. So I've got a lot of faith in the ladies of the WWE division. I've got a lot of faith in how WWE presents them currently. They will turn this into something cool.
Yeah, I think so.
Would I have ever said, hey, why don't we do a Rumble in Saudi? No. But it's going to happen. And it's been going on for 8 years now.
It's definitely going to happen
We can stop with the shock and awe. I'm not saying don't feel how you feel. Please let me be perfectly clear on that. I think I speak for myself. I think I speak for Jake as well. This is one of those situations where please feel how you feel, but stop pretending that you're surprised. Stop pretending that it's some brand new shock.
Because it's not.
Simple example. I work with a vast array of people at the warehouse where I work.
Yeah.
Some of them are normal. Some of them are shocked and appalled every day that it's cold outside. And I've decided that all these people are getting maps and calendars for Christmas.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
January
in Canada.
I mean, it is bitter cold outside here right now. I will say that.
But like, and it's bitter cold here too. But like, speaking as a big guy, I'd rather it be cold than hot. That's just me personally. But again, I reiterate: here's your map. Here's your calendar. It's January in Canada.
Exactly.
Be upset. Say it sucks. Just don't act surprised. And ironically, I'm applying that same exact logic and that same exact mental standpoint to this thing here. You were going to get the next Saudi show and the next Saudi show, the next Saudi show, the next Saudi show. People were shocked and awed when they gave them Elimination Chamber. You know what? For all the pissing and moaning that people did, people still watched the show.
Exactly.
You know how
people
I know?
Tuned in.
Do you know how I know? Because I tuned into their podcasts, and I tuned into their YouTube streams, and I tuned into their YouTube React videos and responses and reviews and all that. So piss and moan, get all your attention that you want ahead of time. Piss and moan afterwards, get all the attention that you want afterwards. But you're going to do what you do. Oh, I'm going to boycott the show. No, you're not.
Exactly.
No, you're not. Point. And you know what? I don't make any money on the content that we do, but other people out there do. If you decide you're going to boycott it, all you're doing is throwing away the revenue that you would have made from that show. Do your content. I mean, what culture used to do it? They would do their live stream, and they would have the super chats out there, and they would, collect all the super chats, and I think they sent it to like Sammy for Syria.
Yeah.
If you're so outspoken about it, go out there. If you can make some money, put it into a good cause. If you see bad in the world, go put some good in the world.
Exactly.
But don't tell me that you didn't see this coming. Don't tell me that you're surprised. Don't tell me that you're shocked. Don't tell me, oh my God, WWE has a deal with Saudi Arabia. How can they do that? Like, fuck off. And when the bell rings for the Rumble, you're going to be tuning in. Maybe the surprises will be a little bit less because people will be more careful about who wants to be involved. It'll be different. But it's the Rumble. You're going to watch it. Fuck off.
Exactly.
That's all I got.
But you're not wrong. You're going to watch it. You know you're going to watch it. And I think also it's about the presentation and the spectacle behind what we're getting. Again, I don't want to overstate this. Again, I'm bringing that to terms today. My brain's a one-track mind from lack of sleep. But you get the point that I'm getting at is the way it's portrayed. It starts first two shows were so heavy-handed on this place is great, come here, tourism. They still have that, but it's more underhanded now. They're like showing you instead of telling you.
Well, the first couple of shows were kind of shit too because they were basically televised house shows.
Triple H and Cena and things like that.
Oh my God, the absolute friggin' wrestling abortion that was the Brothers of Destruction versus DX.
Oh my God, Kane lost his mask. Watching them talk about that. I mean, obviously Triple H got injured. Injury's always happening, but like all the other shit.
Shawn Michaels was the one holding that match together. Undertaker got winded blowing hair out of his own face.
Yeah, and I know it was like 108 degrees in the ring and shit too, but Still,
it's fair.
There's so
but it's
many
also
factors
like you
to
should
look
have seen
into,
that
but
coming.
you guys should not have done that. And
I mean, tightest world slide.
That was one of the things I didn't consider that Rollins was talking about for his cash in at 31 when he had the match with Orton earlier on when they went for the RKO reversal spot.
Yeah.
Out of the stomp, they reversed it into the RKO. Yeah. He was so concerned because he was sweating so hard at that point because it was so hot in the sun that he was going to slip and not make it. So I guess they kept fuck it, we'll do it live kind of idea. And he's like, I'll hit it. And Randy's like, if we miss it, shit happens. If we hit it, it'll be one of the best. And I feel like that one doesn't get mentioned enough, but that is one of my favorite RKOs ever. Like it was
where he like steps up out of the RKO and
yeah. So he goes to do the stomp and then he just switches and throws him up in the air and hits it with the RKO at the end there for the win. Just such a great moment.
The way they do it, if I'm recalling it correctly, is he goes for the stomp and then Randy Orton basically just stands up. And the way he does it, it looks like he's lifting Seth Rollins into the air by his head.
Exactly.
I don't know. Randy Orton would probably be a really cool guy to talk to. He's probably got some stories. Don't go
Randy Orton's one of the ones that has helped so many.
Hands. Yeah,
lately. Like he was such a problem early on, and now he's become this overwhelming sense of good and calm, and just is so helpful in the locker room and all these things like Punk.
I know I've said it before, but they did the watch along thing on WWE.com. Where it was him and Punk watching back their match from WrestleMania like 10 years ago.
And talking about the heat from the Rumble and how it all started.
And it's just all like dude bro stuff.
Even him and Rollins being able to work. We said it earlier. Let's say it again. That they came together to make money.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to work with someone you hate. I've done it. I'm sure we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes your workplace miserable. But to have yourself be professional enough to say, hey, look, I can overcome this. This is what needs to happen for the betterment of the company and everyone below us that, busted their ass so that we could be the main event. We need to make this happen. So,
but I mean, that's what adults in an adult company do, though.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. And adults in an adult company also had one hell of a great story going on. I know people aren't crazy about Ava, but I like the fact that she couldn't believe that Eddie Thorpe actually got attacked.
That was awesome, yeah.
So that I think they missed a trick
though because
pun intended.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, I didn't catch that one. It's fine. No, when they said he was attacked, and I as soon as she didn't believe him, I was like, okay, no, it actually happened this time, and she's gonna end up looking bad. I was really hoping it was The Rock.
I was too,
because he was found on the steps, and if you can imagine like a tile set of steps. Like a sort of a diagonal rock bottom on the edge of all those steps.
It looked like it just worked out perfect. Like, hey, this needs to happen. Let's go ahead.
You knew there was going to be some nonsense in the triple threat, and you knew one way or another, like Eddie Thorpe was going to be the deciding factor. They want to save that proper one-on-one match between Trick and Oba for Stand and Deliver. Oi, oi, oi! I think.
Indeed, they do.
Because for the men's. Unless they hire somebody brand new that is absolutely like out of the park, like we didn't see this coming. For the guys, like we said it at the end of last year, the women are killing it right now. The guys kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, which is fine. It happens. But as it stands right now in that division, I think Trick and Oba is far and away the biggest marquee match they have for Stand and Deliver.
Yeah, it really does feel like that's probably one of the biggest. And you know what? I love what we got here, though, and how it worked out to be.
Yeah.
Because Obafemi never had to give anything.
No.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't be having him look weak yet. Look, he's a big bastard, and he's got this place on lockdown, Yeah. So it's like, so to have them go ahead now and be like, oh, he's the champ now. I didn't expect that to come that way.
It's always a hard thing, the losing upwards thing, because if you've got a mid card title, and I would have said the same thing for Gunther, and Gunther has done it amazingly as well.
Yeah.
To drop your mid card title to go pursue the main event title, you kind of have to say, okay, I just lost to this mid carder, but I belong in the main event.
Yes.
At the same time, and that's across the board. That's for everybody. That's why
the mid-card titles are supposed to be stepping stones, tools to elevate us.
But it's hard to say, like, if you think about it in the fiction, right? Like, Tony D, we like Tony D, but Tony D is a mid-carder, right? Trick Williams is a main eventer.
Yes.
Tony D just beat me, but I think I can beat Trick Williams.
As you said wisely with spoilers, there's levels to this. And that's why I had immediately heard about the Julia title change, but I didn't hear about Obafemi. I think more people were focused on the women. Yeah. And so it was cool to not know that and have a little bit of an idea going in and still have a surprise while having, like you said, that there are levels to it. And it's a great way to explain it. And you need the mid-carders to make the main events feel special. You need the main eventers to make the openers work. Like there's every bit of it has its reason, but I really feel like we're in a place now where Triple H has the vision, and that vision is not of one man taking over, getting richer, and getting to shit on females' heads. It's, how do I make this global? How do I make us bigger? How do I make us worldwide? How do I hate saying this word, again, lack of sleep, but undeniable, and that's what WWE's trying to prove. Like, you can't not watch us. You're curious. You have to tune in. A lot of people were upset with Monday's Raw. You and I were very high on it. We felt the opposite, but people were like, "Oh, they were way too safe. They were way too corporate."
We'll do something maybe in a week or so when I've got more time to get my thoughts together.
Yeah, we'll come back to it, but
we have to do a pod or something, guys. Anybody listening to me right now, put your comments down in the box below, or hit me up on X at Spaz Phoenix. But hit him up. Countdown ended on X as well. We have to do a pod at some point on all the bad faith takes that came out of this week's Monday Night Raw, because there were a lot of them. There's some things on there. If you see something, there's a lot of stuff that I like that's not for everybody. So if I like something and you didn't like it, it's not your cup of tea. I prefer this type of thing, whatever. That's fine. But the amount of bullshit coming out of supposedly respected mouths.
Oh, well, they only got 2.4 million viewers. It's like you can't even break a million.
The numbers. Not even the
numbers. I know, but that was like and then the fact that it's homes, not viewership directly. Like they're as you said, there are levels to this, and
I'm talking about shit like.
I get you. I know.
We talked about one of them on the live stream, so I'll just use that as the example. Oh, The Undertaker is just there to soak up all the Rhea Ripley spotlight. There was only one women's match on the card, and they got to send an old man out there to steal it. He came out there to say she was a badass. He didn't actually say anything.
No.
And then he fucked off. And then she was featured further on the show later on in the night.
Yes, but he put her over. I just wish she got on the bike, honest to God. Like, that would have been... Yeah. I wish she rode away with Undertaker and had that kind of like, hey, I refuse Dom, I'll take a real man, an American badass, that kind of a thing.
But I'm just saying, the amount of takes, like I expect a take like that, because all of a sudden, I wonder why, maybe because your person didn't win a couple weeks ago, we're not supposed to like The Undertaker anymore, right? Because he leans a certain way, and it's like all of a sudden Undertaker's not one of the greatest creations in wrestling history.
That's the thing that kills me. And, the crowd booed Hogan, and I don't think it's a political reason that they booed him either. A lot of people said, oh, it's California. But they didn't boo The Undertaker either. They don't like Hogan. He's a liar. He's a real shell of his former self. There's more videos out there calling Hogan a liar and a terrible person than there are good things. So I don't blame people for being I
do believe at this point in the world that we live in, any videos of anybody saying anything good about him would have been taken down by now.
That's kind of been the thing, and you're not wrong.
What you see available out there, it's representative.
It is cherry picked, yeah.
It is cherry picked, and what you see is just as important as what you're not able to see anymore because it's been removed for various reasons.
But obviously there is a reason for it. There's
reasons, yes. But it all comes back to the point. True or false? Wrestling isn't where it is right now without Hulk Hogan.
Oh, absolutely. I said that Monday.
Then if there's a historical event, he's going to be there.
Exactly.
It is another Saudi Rumble. Get over it.
We would not have Mania nowadays if it wasn't for Hogan. We wouldn't have any of the beautiful things that we have that we endure and love through.
Now, to be fair, to balance it out, might we have something very different that's just as successful? Sure.
Possibly.
Wrestling as it exists right now, make a star, give them some challengers, tell some stories, but make a star first. Hogan, like in the days that we remember Hogan from Hulkamania, from going to WCW and finally turning heel, 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome, brother? No, but now I've seen the Tokyo Dome. That ain't the measuring stick anymore.
It's not. That Intuit Dome, I have to admit, that was so cool for the shit they had inside. Yeah. Like some people weren't crazy about the light up seats, and I guess why. And I do agree with you. It should have only been on during entrances.
It made it look like there was nobody there at some points. That was the only thing that I found frustrating. Because if you light up in front of somebody, it looks like there's nobody standing behind it. So there were various points of the show where it looked like entire sections were empty just because the people were sitting in the dark because they were sitting back from the light. I do want to see what a regular episode of Monday Night Raw looks like in a regular building, because the special event is over now. Now the work starts. I hate to be cliche like that. I like the fact that NXT still felt like NXT because it wasn't Netflix everywhere. It was Netflix everywhere but the States. So it's
well, you keep bringing up the Tokyo Dome, so I've got to ask you this. I want to find the right wording. I was talking with Seth before, and he made a really great point to me, and I know we're all over the place today, but with you not feeling well, that's where we are. So this popped up in my mind, and I often don't find questions for you, sir, but I wonder how you feel about this. So now, Konosuke Takeshita, he looked very dominant over the weekend, obviously took out Ishii, and now he's with New Japan for 1 year. Okay. So this is the thing. Tony Khan was forced to give New Japan something of value because WBD did not allow them to promote Wrestle Dynasty or any other promotion show going forward. That's why there was no word of the Dynasty 4-way with the women and all these things over the weekend.
They weren't allowed to promote it?
Warner Brothers Discovery executives are officially not allowing Tony Khan to promote Wrestle Dynasty or Dynamite and Collision in all future New Japan or CMLL collaboration shows outside the United States.
Okay.
So how does that not kill anyone that wants to work with them? How does that not immediately just neuter any forward partnership? We can't advertise
you're talking about
our product?
So outside of the States, so they can obviously still promote Forbidden Door.
I guess, because that's an AEW product, I'm assuming, but any other venture where they're not the main company, AEW is not the ones putting on the event or the main of the event, Warner Brothers Discovery is not letting them basically be able to advertise. So now Takeshita has to go over there for an entire year, and he's one that Take a Shit I've always really enjoyed over on AEW, and he was one of the ones I was like, oh, I wish we got him. Like, you really wanted Ospreay for a while. That's how I felt about Takeshita. He's okay on the mic, but he works great with a heel Don Callis as a manager and a mouthpiece. He needs his own skinnier Paul Heyman, and it works perfect. Conan! So my thing to you is, like, how do you feel this is going to play out? Do you think this is the end of working with other companies if they're not going to get anything in return, or is Tony going to have to just start giving out wrestlers to everybody to make good?
So if I understand you correctly, they've basically paused his AEW contract, and he's a New Japan guy for a year?
Yes, for 1 year he's working with New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I'd be interested to see if that means his contract gets extended a year at the end, because that's the contract extension thing from Tony Khan is something he's pulling out quite regularly at this point. That's my first thought. I don't know. I hadn't heard this, so you're kind of catching me off guard.
Well, that's kind of why I wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't often catch you off guard. So.
It's hard. Oh, this is going to sound like such a dickhead thing for me to say. It's hard for me to have an opinion because, in general, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But,
So I'm trying to find out more. It says he's kicked off 2025 in style, not only leaving Japan with 2 championship belts, he's got 3 separate contracts. So he's been under contract since 2022. He signed to DDT. And I saw
that he had two logos next to his name when he came out to wrestle. I won't lie, I wasn't sitting on my ass glued to the TV for this. I put it on because it happened to be on, and I caught the people that I enjoy, and that was basically it. I saw the return of Kenny Omega. That was fine. I'm not familiar with Gabe Kidd, but I like that match as much as I can, only knowing one of the people. But
exactly.
As far as the deal goes, it's really it's. I would love to blame Tony Khan, but it's kind of shit on WBD's part to say that you can't co-promote with a company in AEW that has made so much of their identity on co-promotion.
I mean, they said that with this, it kind of makes them seem like they have buyer's remorse on renewing AEW at a higher price per year with this contract. thanks to Zaslav basically making it, persona non grata to mention other companies. So for them to lose, because maybe not in a great deal, but Tony has worked in AEW for a while now to build up Takeshita as a notable talent and star. And now you're basically losing him for a year. I think it will extend his contract. So we'll see what happens. They said Tony Khan and Rocky Romero work very well together. Their workout dates. He's going to work in both places, but it might. AEW is like when AEW needs him, that's his priority. So.
Okay.
It was just kind of a very interesting thing to occur. I don't know,
because if I'm doing and I don't know how these contracts work or anything like that, but if we're doing a co-promoted thing, right? Like Forbidden Door is a North American thing, mostly an American thing, other than when they came up here, right? So if you're running the American show that has New Japan people coming, you should advertise, hey, we're running our show, and hey, get excited, New Japan people are coming too. If it's the show in Japan, I don't want to let Tony Khan off the hook, but I kind of feel like New Japan should be advertising their show and saying, hey, get excited, we have some AEW people coming.
You would think.
But I don't.
I guess the original partnership never really seemed fruitful for New Japan because their goal was to get the American audience to tune into New Japan, but really it was like only the niche of the niche were tuning in with anything. And you're talking.
And they were probably the ones that were already watching it. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. So there really wasn't this major return. And it seems like, as where TNA has gotten a lot in return this year, as far as buzz and garnered viewerships because of the involvement with NXT and having Joe Hendry become a big deal over there in NXT and coming back to, TNA, things like that. It was like we can share talent, but it had more of a companionship to it than a take one, leave one kind of feel.
But here's the thing too, right? Like we've talked a lot and I've quite enjoyed, the NXTNA of it all, right? But at the same time, when Jordan Grace shows up on NXT, I'm not saying, oh my God, somebody from TNA is here. I'm saying, that's really cool. Jordan Grace is here. She's pretty awesome. I wonder what she's going to do. Rosemary was the best one for me. The Rascals coming back together was a different kind of thing. It's because I like those specific guys and girls and whatever. So I'm not... I mean, yes, it's cool that they are TNA people and they're here now, but it is still a person-by-person thing. So don't sell me on, we've got a bunch of people coming from New Japan. Pick your people. Tell me why I should be excited about those people. Don't get me invested in just a label. Okay, like when Ospreay was still over there, show me a video package on Will Ospreay.
Yeah,
and say,
no doubt.
Here's this guy, like he spends most of his time in New Japan, but here's what he does. He's going to come do that here for a night. Like, sell me the person, not the label. And I know that makes me a hypocrite because I was really, really high on the NXTNA thing, but it's still
it was because
case
of
by
who
case.
was involved and what they were doing.
Because there's there's some people in, like, over in TNA that could come over to NXT for a night, and it might not necessarily get my excitement. And in that case, you don't get the default of, oh, well, it's somebody from TNA, I guess I'll cheer. And there's people the other way. Like, I'm pretty sure...
Yeah.
Like, who's boring in WWE? That's a shitty thing to say. But, like, who doesn't exactly, like, get the gears going?
The Miz.
Okay, The Miz. The Miz showing up in TNA would be fun. Okay, there's an open challenge from Mike Bailey on TNA, and it gets answered by Otis.
Okay, yeah, that would be one. That's
no disrespect. Like,
no.
Otis is cool, right? But I'm not just going to say, oh my God, they just sent us a WWE superstar. I might say, oh, that's kind of cool. Otis is here.
Yeah, because he is a superstar, but it's not like you said, again, with levels.
It's not like they sent Finn Balor.
Yes.
Or CM Punk showing up in TNA after how many years?
As
where
before, I said it was impossible. Now I feel like this is where anything could happen, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to the non-advertising deal. I don't know what to say about that. To be perfectly
I was just curious of your opinion, how you felt, because I mean, you look at everything and
I think him using a human being as a trading piece in Takeshita is a bit off.
See, that's how I kind of felt. People are like, oh, it's good, but it's not really like a trade. It's we made bad on our promise, so now we owe you a human. You know,
yeah, that part of it's a bit off, but
kind of what I feel at this
point. Not knowing who put that part into the conversation, I want to be careful. I'm pretty critical of AEW. I want to be careful with my criticism of that until I would see more details of it and where each suggestion and each part came from. So I'm gonna totally sit on the fence on that one.
Maybe I'm okay with you fence sitting there too. Because
maybe I'm becoming an evolved individual.
Ooh.
And we might see some more evolved individuals. Look at that transition.
I love it.
We're getting NXT Evolve.
Which is not something I thought would be happening, honestly. I didn't.
Apparently it's gonna replace Level Up that nobody was watching.
Yeah.
And I think even in their own way WWE acknowledged nobody was watching it. But it's gonna be more involved. That was almost a pun. There's gonna be actual storylines. It's gonna be tying together the odd established NXT star with both the NIL program and the WWE ID program, which is something you and I said for ages. NIL and WWE ID are two sides of the same coin. Get in some wrestlers that have been wrestling and they want to wrestle here. Get in some people that have been athletes elsewhere and now they want to try being wrestlers, and put the paste in the mix of some people that have been there for a little while. Maybe they have been there recently enough that they still know what it's like to feel new. Yeah, they know what. It's going to be broadcasting out of the Performance Center. Which
is interesting.
So I want to know what you think about this, but I also want to sort of skip past this. Is if this show is now going to live in the Performance Center, be broadcast from the Performance Center, is that an indicator that they're somehow going to take the regular NXT brand and give it a boost and have it be like the full touring brand?
Yeah, the big to-do.
So, I don't know, because with Evolve, you're going to constantly see new people. It's going to be a churn of like who makes it, who doesn't, that kind of thing. I don't know if it'll get the ratings and the coverage that that NXT is getting. Sorry, everybody. But
I'll let you die, you goddamn it.
God. You don't even know.
Oh, I know.
The existence of this makes me think that they're going to elevate regular NXT. And that doesn't mean that I'm immediately tossing this new show aside. But if we want to talk about levels, like we were talking about before, if NXT Evolve is the new developmental show, it does proper NXT become less of a developmental show and more of a bridge.
Exactly.
And in that way, with that enhanced value, does it become the one that's in a different venue every week, like we've been seeing them play with?
I think so. Absolutely. And you know what? There's so many changes abound right now that it kind of makes me see, like, hey, all right, people weren't watching this. People weren't doing anything with it, so let's try something else. Worst comes to worst, it doesn't work. Like, then we change things and try it again, Mm-hmm. So I like what they're doing. Evolve has already been like a mini NXT. They've got the WWE ID program, where they're IDing people to be future stars, and all that's doing is giving them small paychecks so they continue to wrestle and don't have to be like, oh well, I was going to be the next John Cena, but I couldn't afford to take off on Olive Garden on the weekends because I have no health insurance, kind of thing. I mean, that's really all. And
it's letting the public know with like a wink and a nod. Hey guys, they're not in WWE yet, but here's some people we're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, we want you to go ahead and
almost that wink and a nod is more valuable in like the social media sphere than, hey, we're gonna give you a random jobber match on a SmackDown dark match or something like that.
Exactly.
Like a couple of videos get shared by the WWE ID Twitter account. More people are going to see that than are going to see the dark match in Wichita.
Exactly. Great point.
I don't know. I think it sounds really good. I'm being kind of selfish, and I want to know how this helps proper NXT.
I think it will help NXT, though, because, again, it's just an influx of more stars, more talent, and they're just kind of like, hey, we're going to investigate the indies and see who's worth talking about and mentioning and having. I think that's really all.
And I still do say, like, with WWE ID, like sort of like grabbing from the indies and whatnot, I think there's obviously value there. I still stick to what I said a couple of pods ago as well. With the NIL program, where you're pulling people from different sports and different sorts of ventures and whatever, there's always the chance that somebody could come in, somebody that's an Olympic swimmer that has some new, like, back exercise that nobody's ever thought of before.
Exactly.
Like, hey, I had to build up this particular. I'm being super specific.
This is how I train. Yeah.
This is how I trained, and I help. And it kept me nice in tone or whatever.
Well, Rollins brought that up about his knee too, because he worked with several people on the way to WrestleMania to see what he could accomplish and what he could do, because he didn't really re-tear his knee as much as he had an old tear that he moved. And so it shifted, so his knee worked a different way now. So instead, he would have to go ahead and fucking deal with the, I'm in pain, I can't do the stomp, but I can do it with the other leg now, those kind of things. So he had to learn and find out what would be best for him.
Austin, after he broke his neck, was like hardly technical at all and became a brawler, like the evolution of Stone Cold Steve Austin, so to speak. But I'm just thinking, like, if the only people you ever talk to are wrestlers, you're never going to find out how a football player got their quick step, their quick first step explosion, or whatever the case may be, that could then turn that into, like, think about especially in the old days when everybody was like big, like, broody guys, like, how many of them were ex-football players? How many people, how many of those guys brought their, like, big, like, bulking methods into the wrestling world?
No, you're right. Totally right.
You never know what somebody outside the bubble is going to bring into your bubble until you bring the person that's outside your bubble in your bubble.
Exactly. Let me show you how to do this, this, and this.
Hashtag bubble.
Hashtag bubble. Bubble gum bubble.
30 seconds or less. Is Aleister Black coming back to WWE?
Yes. At first I would have said no, but the fact that we didn't get an angry rant from him on Twitter, X, TikTok, whatever today, about people are already saying that I'm quitting and retiring, about, he did that for every other rumor, one. And then two, the fact that you had Will cut that promo after the match saying, like, you don't need him, you could do it on your own. That, to me, really sells the fact that they're going to be singles wrestlers sooner than later. So
it's kind of a fuck you on the way out the door, but okay.
Yeah, it was a bit random.
But I guess, to be fair,
you don't need Malachi Black, you could do it on your own.
To be fair, WWE literally, like, turned Ricochet into a car wreck before AEW got their hands on him and made him much worse.
No doubt, but there was a story they wanted to tell there with him and Braun Breaker. As where with this, it's kind of like, what's the payoff? They're going to be a singles wrestler, like, maybe, but if I don't see him,
we're gonna shit on Aleister Black, who won't be able to respond because he's not here anymore.
Yeah,
and then we'll reveal some more footage from backstage.
It just didn't feel right, The whole thing felt very.
It's a sign, for sure. I don't know if I need...
The change is coming.
I don't necessarily know if I need Buddy Murphy and what's his name, Brody King, as a tag team. I'd love to see Brody King just go around killing people.
I'd love to
see Buddy Murphy come back to WWE. Just saying.
I loved him in WWE. He was in the Cruiserweight Classic. I loved him as a Cruiserweight champion.
Yep.
Him at Mania. Like, he did so many great things there, and then he just never really got the chance. Which is why I felt kind of like the Stomp and the GTS was not an insult, or at least not intended to be, because he is close with Seth. It could be a rip, certainly could be. I just don't.
I'm just saying, like
the
inverted GTS from Ospreay.
Yeah,
because Ospreay's got no love lost for CM Punk or WWE in general. So I'm like,
no.
Put the two of them together. Those are the two guys.
I just know that Buddy's very fond of Seth, and they supposedly stayed in contact for a long time and worked well together. And,
if it had been handled better, like him being the disciple of the Messiah could have been something really cool. And
that's what I'm saying. I thought that we were going to get more from that, but it was also in like the beginning of the COVID times, and shit just got.
Everybody was
destroyed.
In a bad mood about everything. You know what?
Yeah.
You know what the thing is, right? Maybe some people might see it as a step down, but if they had been tag champions, Seth and Buddy.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have hurt my feelings.
And I thought they were, honestly, at one point.
Now they had the APA with them at one point, which was just... Or not APA,
random.
The AOP.
AOP, yeah. I knew what you meant.
APA. Can you imagine...
Don't take this ass whooping personally.
Bradshaw, Farouk, Seth Rollins, and Buddy Matthews. They're not respecting the business.
Damn.
Anyway, you know who respects the business? Jake. And Jake's going to tell you where you can find him. Go ahead.
That's right. You can find me on Twitter at Countdown Ended. You can also find me on YouTube at Jake Countdown Ended DeMarco. We'll be live again next week talking about all the great things that is WWE, NXT, and everything else of wrestling in the world, AEW, and so on. So you can find us there. And then obviously you'll find us here for the podcast. Yeah, we do. We've got
I think next weekend we'll be leading into Genesis. I'm going to steal Jake, and we're going to do some Genesis stuff. Don't know if I'll be live with Jake to review that one, just the way my schedule is going, but we'll definitely try to get you guys a preview. And you guys know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz with no voice. That's been Super Sexy Jake DeMarco with slightly more voice than me. We have been your YWC Reality Check, also known as the State of Wrestling. I've already fucked up the ending. Have a good night, everybody.
Stay sexy.